Okay, I'm gonna quickly walk you through some of the pieces that I've already painted, and then I'm going to show you how to do the shading and the different effects that you can do that really ups your painting game. So I didn't show you the basics. I think every single one of you have painted multiple kits, so you don't need to see that. But we started off with blue, paint that with your foam brush. I said in the instructions, you don't have to paint inside that truck etching. I obviously painted most of it. I basically just, I kind of pour some of the paint on and then I use my foam brush to paint that. And so since that's gonna be covered by your truck, you don't have to paint inside the etching. And I'm gonna set that aside. And then I told you to paint your gray pieces, which are the two middle pieces for your truck, little hubcap and the window. I did shade a little bit of that after I painted the black, and I used the same technique as I'm going to show you on this. I didn't think to show you, so just know I did that. And then also paint just a little tiny sliver of the bumper. You don't have to get too crazy with that because it is going to get covered with the hubcap, so you really just need a little tiny bit. After the gray, I told you to move on to the black tires, and I had explained in there, you don't have to stay in the lines because it does get covered up. I mean, if you look at it this way, that looks like a total mess, but once you put the hubcap on, and then the tire ring, and that, it cleans it right up. So don't worry about taking too much time and trying to get it perfect. It doesn't need to be. And same thing with the pink. I didn't go all the way to the ends because I didn't want to overlap my colors. And that's going to be covered up by all of these pieces. So gray, then black, then I moved on to my red pieces and I gave them, all of them, just two nice coats so they're completely covered. And then I moved on to the white pieces, which the XOXO and the pieces for the tires, I don't do anything special with them. So I'm gonna go ahead and set them off to the side. These two hearts in this envelope, I do, in the example photo, you'll see that I did do a little bit of pink shading around the corners. So I'm gonna keep these over here so that I can do that. And then of course I also painted the light pink, which is the truck, the two hubcaps, the bottom, I don't know what you would call that, the bottom trim piece, running board, I don't know, on the truck, the little tiny door handle, and then the hugs, love, and kisses. So the light pink pieces, I'm gonna go ahead, keep those together, but I'm gonna set those off to the side with the white piece. And I'm gonna focus on my red pieces. The mini hearts and the lips and this heart cutout, I'm not going to do any shading. So as soon as you're done painting the light pink color, I'm going to keep the same wedge, and I'm going to take my cardboard box and I'm going to dab off most of that color. You want very, very little left on your actual wedge. And I just dipped it into fresh paint because it was kind of drying out. So I've got to dab it a little more than you probably will have to. And then let's just go ahead and start with our banner. I'm gonna try to do this up in the air so that you can see it closer. So hopefully I can do it correctly. So when you're first starting to shade, you're gonna wanna stay on the edges at first because that's where most of your paint is gonna get deposited. So go ahead, and I'm barely dabbing it. So go ahead and outline it so it looks like that. Then I'm going to, with almost even lighter touches, slowly move my way towards the middle. And you can always add more paint, but it's harder to take it away. So I suggest starting super light and then just adding as you go. And as you can see, I'm just kind of moving towards the bottom and almost lifting as I go until it looks like that. And you're gonna be covering it with, where are my white pieces? Oh, I've set them over here. So it doesn't have to look, don't overthink it. It doesn't need to look perfect. Every piece is gonna look different. You could do this 100 times and they're gonna look different 100 times. So same thing with special. I'm going to go ahead and focus on the top edges. And that's where I'm gonna deposit most of my paint. And then I'm gonna also just take delivery and do the same thing, because you kind of want these two to look pretty similar because they're right next to each other. So you want it to look kind of seamless. And then once I do that, I'm just gonna go ahead and very lightly work my way to the middle. And you can go down as far as you want. I think it's cool if it looks like it's just kind of dipped. So I just go about halfway. Sorry, I need to make sure that I'm actually still on camera. And that's it. If you find that like you're not really depositing any more paint, go ahead, and I wouldn't dip it like straight into the paint. I would almost just like on your box where after you dab, so there's that leftover paint, dab onto there so that you don't get like too much onto your wedge. And then I'm going to go ahead, and you will obviously be doing this with your pieces on the table. I just want to make sure that you can see it, so it's kind of hard to do this in midair. So I stick around, around the edges, and then very, very lightly work my way towards the middle. It's almost time for me to get more paint. Kind of go around the edges a little bit more. Oops. And then I'm going to do the same thing with, sorry, dabbing all that off. The envelope and these two hearts. And I'm just going to very lightly, oops, I almost dropped this, dab around the sides. The most important thing I can say is just like very minimal paint on your wedge and a very, very light touch. And worst case scenario, let's say you're like, oh my gosh, I don't like how that looks or how it turned out. You can always save the wedge that you painted red and rinse it out, and you can add more red going up. You don't want to have to keep overworking it, but don't be afraid to try this. And if you don't want to shade it, it's gonna look great without the shading too. Like, this is totally optional. Okay, now I'm gonna keep this same wedge, and you would open up the darker pink color, and I'm just gonna put a dot onto my box. I'm gonna take all of the light pink pieces, and I'm gonna shade them with this darker color. So now, since this was my light pink wedge, it's gonna blend really well. So dip it into that darker pink and do the same thing. Like, get most of that paint off. And then as far as the truck goes, I'm just going to go around the edges. And this one, because the colors are very similar, this one is much easier to work with. I would have you start practicing this one first, except for you needed it to stay light pink. You didn't want to do dark pink on the red, unless you do. That would also look fine. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and even do inside the window, around the edges, and then I'm not gonna do this edge because it's gonna be covered up by that running piece. But it's very subtle, but makes a big difference. It's almost like when you outline. Do you remember in elementary school, maybe you didn't do it, did you ever color the coloring pages, but then around the outer part of each piece, just do a dark line of that color so it makes it stand out. I felt so professional when I was a kid doing that. So I don't even know if you can see the difference on the camera, but I can see it in person, and you'll be able to see it in person. And then I'm even gonna go ahead and do it on the little door handle. I'm just going to maybe do it on the top because it's such a tiny piece. And then with the hugs, love, and kisses, I am going to ombre it, just like you did with the special delivery. So I'm going to start and just barely wrap around. So just do the very top. I'm going to do that with each piece. And then, normally mine would be, I keep wanting to set it down. Very lightly, I'm going to go ahead and start kind of pressing that down to the middle. And then next word. I don't know if you can see, I mean, it's hard to do sideways, but like as I'm pressing, I almost like lift. Because you want it to look, you don't want that harsh line. You want it to blend down. Sorry, I have to look at it so I can make sure. Okay, and then when you're happy with it, what is my next piece I need to do? There's more I need to paint, and then I will come, oh, you know what? Nope, I just have to paint my gate. So I'm gonna go ahead, you can throw these away or I rinse mine out. I'm gonna go paint the gate, the darker pink color, and then I will come back when it's time to assemble and splatter. Okay, it's the next morning, so hopefully the lighting is a little bit better. I don't know if it actually is. But we are ready to finish this sign. I'm gonna put it together for you so that, or with you, so you can fast forward if you don't need any help, or if you have any questions, this should answer them. Before we begin, I have posted about this in the group several different times, but just in case you missed it, there are some tools that if you do a lot of my kits, they're very helpful. If you want me to send you the link, I'm happy to do that. But one of them is a pair of sharp tweezers. These help peel the 3M off of your pieces, but I also like them because I send the blue tweezers to help you hold like really small pieces, but sometimes they can get in the way. And so these are thinner. So you can obviously see how I use these to paint with because they're just covered in paint. The second thing I buy is a pack of dotting tools. This actually comes with, I want to say there's either 6 or 8. They have different sizes of these dots on the end. And that helps me, I send you with the flat toothpick so that you can make your little, this is almost finished, but like the little dots on the heart, or the little swipe marks. So you can use a toothpick, but if you're doing several, the dotting tool might make it a little easier. And the third thing I like to use is a white paint marker, because like when you're doing the swipes, or around here, I will show you in the video. It's just so much easier with a paint marker versus with the toothpick. So, okay, let's get started putting this together. I am just going to start, there's really no, you know what, I'm just gonna do the truck so I can show you, because I'm like, you don't need to see me put everything on there, just so you can see the order. I can't remember if I said this last night in the other video, but with the truck, you don't need to paint the entire thing. I think I did say that actually, so I'm just repeating myself. You don't need to paint the whole thing. You can, but it does make it way easier to kind of go outside of the lines for the tires. For the bumpers, you don't need to paint right up to the tire. I just kind of did a diagonal here, and even this is like way more than necessary because it covers up that much. So don't be too worried about getting it perfect. If it makes you feel better though, you totally can. Okay, now I'm gonna use the etching to place this. I might need to hold it up to my face a little bit. If I put my head down to it, I'm gonna block the whole video. I'm gonna press that down. Then I do the hubcaps. And you can place like the special delivery hugs, because whatever, you can place that whenever. You can do it first or after the truck. This, I just basically, I match the bottoms up to the bottom of the truck and the side to the side of the truck. I never realized like how much I stick my face right next to the signs that I'm doing until I'm making a video and I'm like, oh, you can't block it with your head. Does anybody else do that? Or are you a normal human being? My face is basically touching my sign when I'm making it. I never press hard down until I get like a section done, and the section for me would be the hubcaps and the running board, just in case I need to do a little bit of adjusting. That's gonna be kind of a tight fit, and so I'm happy with that. So now I'm gonna press it down. Okay, now we can do the wheels. And there's etching to help you place that. And then the gray circles go in the middle of that, which I'm not gonna do that. I just wanted to basically show you the heart and stuff. So you're gonna wanna place the heart that goes next to the top of the truck first. And it butts up right next to that edge. Then this middle hollow heart. And then the end heart. And it should all line up nicely. Okay, sorry, I was getting a Marco Polo and so it cut me off. Okay, place your hearts, and then we need to do this middle heart. If I can get my tweezers under there. Okay, the hearts are done. Now the gate. You can place the gate however you want. I'm gonna tell you a couple different ways. First, how I do it is I take the edge of this gate and then the bottom rail, the top of that bottom rail, I line up with the bottom of the top of the back of the truck, I guess you would say, and the edge I line up with this line. So if you would rather have it higher and line the bottom up with the bottom of the truck, you can totally do that. I like to place it slightly lower just so you see a little bit more of the hearts, but I feel like if it's even lower than that, it's gonna look off. So if you wanted to do it higher, you totally can. So the edge with that line and then the top of that bottom rail, I just go across and then I press it down. Okay, now I'm going to take the banner and I'm going to place that. Again, the placement depends on you. I like to put it on the edge of, or the top of that bottom rail as well for a couple reasons. Number one, you can put it up here if you want. I just like to see more of the gate, but also if you put it down, it has a little bit more stability because it's gonna stick on the hubcap as well as that gate. When you press down, make sure that you're not pressing on the edges that don't have any support. If I press down right here, you could snap your piece. So I just make sure that I gently but firmly press, placing most of the pressure on these middle pieces and then the top of that gate. And then the rest of the stuff is pretty straightforward. You've all done multiple kits, I believe. I don't think I had anybody new order the door hanger without having me paint it. So I'm going to turn the video off, finish adding in all of my pieces, and then we will come back on when it's time to add the little details. If you're wondering, like with the little spots, how I add just a little bit of flair to my pieces if you want to go that extra step. Okay, once you get all of your pieces done, I'm going to show you, I mean, you've all done it several times, so you know how to add, I believe you all know how to add like extras with the swipe of the flat end of the toothpick. So I'm gonna show you what it's like if you have these other tools. I'm gonna keep my little white paint here. So I didn't add too many details just because we're gonna splatter paint this at the end, and that kind of covers some of the like swipes and dots anyways, depending how much splatter you do. So, so I kept it pretty simple. I basically just swiped along both. I keep calling these hubcaps, are they fenders? It doesn't matter. So I just swipe with my white paint pen on the fenders, I believe. And then I did it on this heart. I did it on this heart. I think that's all the swipes I did until I get around here. Oh my goodness, you know what? I didn't do, I'll do that at the end. So I'm gonna say I used the darker blue to make the border, and I didn't do that on this one yet. So I will do that. Then I take my dotting tool, and you can choose whichever, I mean, they come in all these different sizes. I don't really have a specific size that I use all the time. And then just dip it into the white paint and then dot, dot, dot. After every swipe that I made. And then I think I did a dot on each of these hearts, which it might be covered by the splatter, but we'll see. And that's kind of all the details I did concerning that, except for the edges. So I need to get, let me pause because I need to go get some of the dark blue paint. Okay, so I had put little details with the white paint along each of these scallops. You can do that if you want to, you don't have to. But I had also, on my original photo, done a darker thing. It's easier to do the darker border first, just so that you don't cover the white paint pen. So I'm gonna do the same technique as I did yesterday. I'm going to dip it into the darker blue paint and then get most of that paint off. And then I'm just going to, I'm not gonna worry too much about being perfect. And this blue is very similar to the pink in that it's not like a huge contrast. And so it's a lot more forgiving than like when you're doing the light pink on the red, which makes a huge difference. And then I'm just going to fairly quickly go around this scalloped edge. And I just go until I start to run out of paint. And I'm gonna dip it one more time. The hard sounds you hear are me trying to dab most of it off. I am very, very lightly touching this scalloped edge. Hardly any pressure at all. Okay, now it should dry fairly quickly just because you're basically just wiping paint on. So I'm going to, yeah, it feels dry. So I'm going to take my paint pen. Again, you can do this with the flat toothpick if you don't want to purchase a paint pen. This one I bought from Sam's Club and it came in a pack of a lot of different colors, but I'm gonna be completely honest, I have only used the white. So you can get a white paint pen from Walmart, you can buy them from Amazon. I can't attest to the quality. Once this one runs out, I will try different brands so I can let you know. Posca, I think, P-O-S-C-A, I think that's what it's called, is a super popular brand. I've never used it, so I'm not sure how that goes, but anyways, so all I did was I just did a swipe. I started on the end and I went like maybe 3/4 of the way. And I didn't worry about being perfect, about having it be perfectly symmetrical. I think it adds to the charm of this design. It's kind of whimsical in a way. And so I feel like it's okay for them to not look perfect. This is not, I feel like it doesn't have to be a symmetrical, not design, but I don't know the word I'm looking for. And then same thing, I took my dotting pen, or you use the flat end of your toothpick, and I dip it into the white paint, and then I just dot on the end of that swipe. And that's it. So I'm gonna finish this. Then I gotta move over to my counter that I have covered, and I will show you how to splatter paint your sign to finish it off. Okay, this is for those of you who haven't done the splatter method yet. Sorry, I'm trying to open my white paint. Okay, so you're gonna take your little detailed paintbrush that I sent in. I like to run my fingers underwater and then kind of touch the bristles just to kind of get it damp, not wet. I don't want to flick water everywhere, but I found that like getting it slightly damp kind of waters it down a little bit, because I want more of the fine splatters versus big chunks. So you're going to dip into your white paint, and I just dip a tiny bit, and then I kind of do the first flick off to the side. First thing you want to do is cover your surface. This is your first time, it's gonna make a big mess. I'm wearing an apron, I cover my counter. You can go to the Dollar Tree and get, if you have a Dollar Tree, and get like the disposable tablecloths. That's what I usually use. I just happen to have, this came in an Amazon package, so Okay, so dip just a little tiny bit on the ends. I do the first couple flicks off to the side just to get the biggest blobs out, and then just start flicking. I start pretty high above my work surface, and then as the paint is going away, I get closer to get that really fine mist. And then that is it. You just repeat that 1,000 times. And I always suggest starting light. So I kind of move around my board fairly quickly. I don't concentrate on getting the top exactly how I want it and then moving down, just because you can just keep adding as you go. But like once you're done, or once you've flicked, you can't really take it away. So I like to start somewhat light and then kind of step back and see how much more you want to add. Do you want more fine ones? Do you want more bigger blobs? What are you looking for? And that is pretty much it. As it gets to the finer parts, I focus more on the darker colors, like the red and the tires and the window, because that's where it's gonna show up most. And with that, I think I'm pretty happy with this one. I have several more I gotta do. So I'm gonna keep my brush out. I don't know how well you can see it, but the splatters just add a really detailed, fun element, and it really takes your project from flat to, it looks so much more elevated. So please reach out if you have, oh, I didn't show you the bow. Okay, this video is such a mess. I'm sorry. I'm gonna set this aside and let it dry, and then we'll come back and I will show you the bow. Okay, I made all of the bows for the orders that wanted me to paint their signs for them, and I forgot to leave one to the side to show you how to make it. So one of you that got the DIY kit is gonna have this pre-made for you. So lucky you. So it's very simple. I try to keep these bows very simple. There are more elaborate ways that you can make them, but you usually need like one of those bow makers, and it's impossible for me to send everybody one. So if you want to just go buy a pre-made bow, or if you have bow making skills, you can go for that. This is just, I try to keep it very simple. So you have 2 burlap pieces, 2 glittery ribbon pieces, this pom-pom, and then you will have 2 pieces of twine. One is slightly longer than the other, and that one set aside. But realistically, it doesn't matter because they're both very similar. So you just need one of these pieces of twine. So take 1 piece of burlap and then 1 of your glittery pieces and layer that, and then I kind of put it at an angle. Then take the other piece of burlap and lay it over like an X, and then your other ribbon and lay that over, and then your pom-pom piece, and I lay that across. Then you're just going to scoop them all up and start to fold them in on themselves and pinch that middle. Take your twine and kind of find, you don't have to measure, but approximately the middle of that twine, and drape it over the middle, because you're gonna need 2 tails in the back for tying. You need enough space that you can tie it to your door hanger. So I'm going to wrap it around, one of the tails around really tight a couple times, just a couple. Then turn your bow upside down, and I'm gonna tie that into a knot just so it holds together. Again, making sure that you have 2 tails on your twine. I can't see There's a glare on my phone screen, so I'm hoping you can see it okay. Then you're gonna take your door hanger, and these two middle holes at the top, these two are for your twine to hang your door hanger up on your door or the stand. These two are for the bow. So you're gonna take the two tails and you're just gonna fish them through those two holes. I'm trying to keep this in the camera. Hopefully you can see. And then pull that tie, arrange the bow so that it sits where it needs to sit. And then I'm going to tie it into a knot. And then you can either just leave these hanging down or you can trim them. Make sure that you don't trim too close to the knot so it doesn't come undone. Now, I like to put a piece of hot glue, or a piece. I like to put a drop of hot glue here and here just to stabilize this even more. It's not absolutely necessary, but if you have a hot glue gun, you can do that just to make it more stable. Then all you're gonna do is you're just gonna trim. So I wanna be able to read special delivery. So you can either arrange your bow, like make sure that it's up and out of the way, or if you want it to hang down a little bit more, I'm just gonna go ahead and trim. I'm gonna cut these pieces so that they're just kind of like a little decoration. And then I'm just gonna trim. You can cut so it's like the bow look, or you can just cut straight across. I'm going to just do straight across this time. I usually do the bow look, but I'm just gonna go straight across. And then just make sure that that is a pretty good length. And then I'm going to mimic that over here. And then they look fairly even. Another tip, I like to cut smaller amounts at first because I can always go back if it still is too long and I can keep trimming. But if you trim off too much, you can't add more on. Okay, I think that is pretty good because once I put my hot glue on, it's gonna stick and it's not gonna go anywhere. So you can go ahead and trim this piece so it's a little bit, or since it's wired, you can even just fold it over just so it's a little bit shorter than your burlap if you would like to. I kind of like that look. Or you can leave it how it is. So let me know if you have any questions.